You like football, basketball, you're betting 10, 20, 50, 100, or the friendly wager with the homie. This is the podcast for you. Never claim to be an industry professional. Just trying to get you the quick flip off of the sports tape. No long talking, no lies, no limits. This is No Cap Bets. Today is January 17th, and this is the No Cap Recap, where we take a look at last week's games and the week ahead in the NFL, as well as the storylines around the league, and there were quite a few, considering it was the super Wildcard weekend. Why do they even call it that? This episode has been brought to you by BetStamp. Line shopping for the most valuable odds. Any game I place a wager on, I go to BetStamp first, decide which books got the best payout, I track my bet, and it's off to the races. Download the BetStamp app now. Use the promo code NOCAPBETS. Once again, that is BetStamp with the promo code NOCAPBETS. Let's just get right into the games. It starts off on Saturday afternoon. The San Francisco 49ers, they're taking on the Seattle Seahawks. NFC West matchup. San Francisco goes in as 10-point favorites. First half, Geno balls out. So do the whole Seahawks. They act like they're not underdogs in this. They go up 17-16. And then the second half, awesome performance right behind McCaffrey, Debo, Brock Purdy. The Niners rattle off 25 unanswered points. Seattle gets 6 points in garbage time. 41-23 is your final. Purdy and company get the cover. Jacksonville, this one was one to remember. The Los Angeles Chargers on the road as 2.5-point favorites. Jacksonville, the home underdog, and in a matchup that we will remember forever. Trevor Lawrence was a mess in that first half. Let's just talk about that. 4 interceptions. He's throwing the ball. It's bouncing off of helmets. He's getting picked left, right, and center. Cameras just on him on the bench. Chargers go up 27-0. I think the Jags get one back just before half. It is not even a game. The Chargers are waving goodbye to the Jacksonville fans like it's a wrap. There's a story going around about a man who bet $1.4 million to win $11,000. I had this lock. Clearly, this guy had this lock. My girlfriend had Jacksonville as a lock. She definitely beat me. Jags outscored the Chargers 24-3 in the second half. It is the third largest comeback in NFL history in the playoffs, I believe. Chargers are the first team to lose a playoff game with a +5 turnover differential. History was made, and that was a wild game. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Of course, that's going to be a storyline. Moving on to Sunday's games, the early one. Everybody wanted to see Buffalo after the Hamlin. Like, they want to see what this team looks like in the playoffs. They go up against their AFC East foe, the Miami Dolphins, who's very, very familiar, and that will come to play. Buffalo comes in there 13.5-point favorites. Josh Allen has never thrown an interception his entire career at home. I never heard that before, prior to the game at least, and apparently neither did Miami. The defense manhandled him all game. He threw 2 picks in the first half, got a fumble. The defense on Miami scored after a third quarter where at least Josh Allen somewhat resembled his regular elite quarterback self. The Finns actually crawl back from 10 points down. The Buffalo Bills narrowly escape and advance 34-31 is your final score. Miami also gets the cover. We have the Vikings and the Giants. Wow, was this another one? Giants were up and at the Vikings the entire game. I mean, it looked like the Giants themselves were the favorites. This was a nightmare matchup for the Vikings. I might have mentioned this. Shout out to my boys, brothers, and bets. On my take that this was not the right matchup for the Vikings. You've got a great head coach in Brian Daboll who has experience with Nick Saban during the Tua Jalen Hurts years. More on that to come. He was a part of the Josh Allen project. Like, there's so much on this man's resume. I call him the most qualified rookie head coach we've ever seen. Coach Daboll, in fact, called Daniel Jones before this game the economy Josh Allen. You know, when like they had the Chrysler 300s and they looked like the Bentley? Well, yeah, like Daniel Jones really looked like the Bentley. He threw for 300+ yards. He is the first player in NFL history to throw 300 yards, 2 TDs, plus 70 rushing yards. first playoff win for the Giants in 11 years. They also advanced, winning that game. The Cincinnati Bengals. This is the last game of Sunday night. They go in easy favorites over the Baltimore Ravens, but not so fast. Ravens balled out. Shout out to Tyler Huntley because he's getting slammed in the media for what was probably the biggest brain lapse you could probably have. It's got to be the biggest brain lapse he's had in his career. He tries to go for the free throw dunk like Vince, Michael Jordan. I don't know what it was on that goal line. And that could have potentially won the game. They were tied 17-17 at that point. But the Bengals actually get the fumble, run it all the way back for the longest fumble return in NFL playoff history. A lot of history was made. Bengals get the win 24-17. Ravens get the cover. And then our final game, was it the final game for Tom Brady? Tampa Bay, 2.5-point underdogs up against the Dallas Cowboys. You heard me say Dak sucked. Dak must have heard me say Dak sucked because he did not on this night. Tom Brady was going in this game 7-0 in his career versus the Cowboys. Well, let's just call it 7-1 now. They did not stand a chance. They jumped out the window, jumped off the bus all over the Bucs. And yeah, it was pretty much the opposite. It looked like Brady sucks. He was throwing them in the dirt. He was throwing them in the end zone. He has the longest streak in NFL history of not throwing a red zone interception. And guess what he does? He throws a red zone interception. So we now know the teams that are, we've got what, 8 teams left. One of these will be the Super Bowl champion. We're going to find out who it is. And let's get into next week's games and some of the top storylines around the league right after the break. You're watching No Cap Bets on Plus.
I have talked to thousands of people about achieving their fitness goals, gaining muscle, losing weight, toning, definition, flexibility, you name it. And I'm here to help you with that. So I made a podcast to motivate, change your mindset, boost your confidence starting today, and make sure you stay on that path to getting that body right with exercise. Check out the Body Right podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Bless up.
Jeans look too tight, but then that shit just right.
And we're back on No Cap Bets, and let's just get right to some of these top storylines throughout the NFL. Is it Tom Brady's last year? That's what everybody wants to know. Maybe as a Buccaneer, he didn't offer much to say in his presser. It didn't sound like he was retiring. It didn't sound like he was staying. It didn't sound like he was staying with the Bucs. It didn't sound like he was ending his career. He's going to the Raiders. This is where you heard it here first, right here on No Cap Bets, January 17, 2023. You got Josh McDaniels. You got Jarrett Stidham out there on the sideline, best backup quarterback for Tom Brady. You got the whole Patriots offense system where Brady broke records, made his name, links back up with his OC as a head coach. You got Stidham right there with the clipboard to help him out on the sidelines. You got a great receiver in Devontae Adams, i.e. like we don't need Mike Evans anymore. It might be goodbye to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Raiders got this one set up in the bag, even on the defensive side. If you saw right before that Patriots game, where it ended with a former Patriot, Chandler Jones. He's locked in for at least another couple of years over there at the Raiders. So the defense is solid. They just needed a good quarterback, one at least apparently better than Derek Carr. It's wide open. They're trying to trade Derek Carr. It's Tom Brady's season in Vegas. Look to see him in the AFC, back in the AFC West, where the only real issue he's going to have is against Patty Mahomes. That should be something to watch. NFC East, best division in the entire league. The NFC East becomes the first division since 1997 to have 3 teams make the divisional round. The NFC East finished 43-23-2, 5 more wins than any other division. You guessed it, who was second? The AFC North, my guys, the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, not so much. With the Eagles and Giants squaring off Saturday night, the NFC is guaranteed to have at least one representative in the championship weekend, and a win with the Cowboys over the Niners on Sunday night would basically mean that an NFC conference team is guaranteed to go to the Super Bowl. Other storylines, we told you about that Chargers game Is it time to fire Coach Staley? I mean, you missed the playoffs last year. You're a 2-year head coach, so you're still young, but you missed the playoffs last year. You had an epic collapse on Saturday night against the Jags. Just in that they fired the quarterbacks coach, they fired the offensive coordinator. So this is the Chargers' way, in my opinion, of saying, hey, the writing's on the wall. You slip up one more, you got, shout out to Biggie, you got one more chance. The players, they seem to be on the other side. You got Herbert, Bosa flinging his helmet all over the place. He's probably still throwing his helmet somewhere. Eckler, Derwin James, all voicing their support for Coach Staley. This isn't a Nathaniel Hackett situation where, you got the best quarterback you could possibly get in the free agent market. You've been put there to win. You got a decent defense, but you just can't come through. And you're that mediocre. The Chargers are competitive, have been competitive. I don't see that there's a reason to drop this guy so soon. They didn't even have Mike Williams out with a back thing. Who's to say that result doesn't end up different? Nothing to take away from the Jaguars' epic comeback, but they were short a primetime elite, damn near Pro Bowl caliber receiver. So we'll just have to see, but I don't think Staley goes anywhere. Another storyline, do the Ravens win this game with Lamar Jackson? You bet your goddamn ass that they do. In fact, if they have Lamar Jackson, they got a better record, and they probably have this game at M&T Bank in Baltimore. So that would have been home field advantage as well. You built the whole team around this guy, so you could try to save all the money that you want to. Apparently, they're talking about trading for Justin Fields, but this is a whole MVP we're talking about. In the last 20 seasons, I don't know. I went back. I looked. I can't think of a quarterback that's been disrespected like this. You know what I'm saying? Not Favre, not Manning, not Mahomes, not Rodgers, Sean Alexander from the Seattle. This is a whole MVP we're talking about. And historically, I've always loved the Baltimore Ravens. It just feels like, I've been a fan of them over half my life. But one thing I do know about them is that they never invest in a quarterback. They're always a defense first type of organization. But like I said, this is a once in a lifetime generational talent. You see that they gave $100 million to Roquan Smith, gave him the bag. So they're trying to solidify that this is a defense first team, but you just don't pass on this type of talent. I don't know where they think they're going. If you want a Super Bowl, stick with Lamar, pay him his money. The Ravens would have won that game and been on to play the Bills if they have him, especially that little jump ball play at the goal line. You know Lamar is finishing that. No disrespect to Tyler Huntley. It just is what it is. And the last storyline I wanted to talk about quickly was the backup quarterbacks on the rise. No quarterback job is safe in the NFL. We're talking Brock Purdy, Skylar Thompson balled up, Zappy from New England. We saw Sam Howell just step up in his first career start and murder the Cowboys. This is part of the reason why we faded them this week. Josh Dobbs taking the job over in Tennessee. Third quarterbacks are shining, and no disrespect, but starters, you got to step it up because even the backups started to do their thing. You had Kenny Pickett step up this year. You had Jarrett Stidham step up when Derek Carr was out. Cooper Rush, come on now. Cowboys are not where they're at without Cooper Rush. Kenny Pickett damn near got him in the playoffs. No disrespect, Mitch Trubisky. And then you had Heineke, my boy Heineken, taking over the job. And, we'll just have to see what happens next year. I don't know if Carson Wentz is going to be that starter over there in Washington. But like I said, no quarterback job is safe. And as one of the best backups, we could say he got a starting role this year, but his whole career was a backup. As Gino would say, when they write you off, you don't write back. And backups in general in the league today are just no joke. And those are your no cap storylines. Let's get to the way too early lines for this coming divisional round games. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars starting it all off Saturday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. They're up against the Kansas City Chiefs inside Arrowhead. It's a road game for them. They are 8.5-point underdogs. Kansas City is a home favorite. Never really loved them. Mind you, this is the playoffs. And if We don't know which type of Jacksonville we're going to get. Are we going to get that first half Jacksonville, where it's like 4 picks like crazy? Or is it going to be like that epic comeback Jacksonville Jaguar team? It's going to be tough to tell. You will get the locks later this week. 8:15 Saturday night, you got the New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles division matchup. You know, over here at No Cap Bets, we love division dogs. So, I mean, no long talking. You probably know which way that I'm going on this one. New York Giants, like I said, have an amazing coaching staff. Their DC is from the Baltimore defensive, prowess that we've had for over the however long, how many years. He's a great DC. He's currently getting interviewed for the job at the Indianapolis Colts. Brian Dabble coached Jalen Hurts, so he probably knows how to beat him, probably knows his weaknesses. You kind of know where I'm going with that one. Sunday, 3 p.m., we have the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Buffalo Bills in a rematch of the game that was cut short due to a serious, grave injury. Shout out my prayers all the way up to the speedy recovery, Damar Hamlin. That was crazy, but they are now 4.5-point favorites. I felt like this line could have been bigger, but then again, the Bengals are hot. I feel like they've won like 9 in a row. Bills barely escaped from Miami, so it just feels like this line is appropriate. You would think it would be a little bit higher, closer to 6, but 4.5 is right where it lands. That's at 3:00 on Sunday. And then the finale in the NFC is the Dallas Cowboys, who took out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to go up against the San Francisco 49ers. I grew up watching these matchups. Troy Aikman versus Steve Young, Troy Aikman versus Joe Montana. Dion playing for both teams. This is great. Just kind of reminds me of the mid-90s, so I'm looking forward to it. The 49ers are 3.5-point favorites. I'll be tapping into that one. Don't know if I'm going to lock it up. Don't know if I'm not involved, but who are your locks this week? Let us know in the comments. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Join the No Cap Nation. Hit the notification bell so you can get the quick flip off of the sports ting, and obviously the content as soon as it drops. Subscribe to No Cap Bets, the podcast, and stay all the way tapped in with us in No Cap Bets. No lies, no limits, no long talking. I'm Plus. It's been another episode. Bless up.